What's up, everybody? Um, so low key, I just wanted to get on and talk about um a specific topic, and I don't know, just something that crossed my mind just tonight, actually. So basically, the whole idea about what I'm gonna talk about is solely just gonna be around prioritizing time for yourself. Um, and when I say that, I mean I feel like everybody should be comfortable spending time alone. Just being themselves, being one with themselves, and just you know, kind of think about what's important to you. Think about what you need to get done, uh, but also keep in mind that you need to be at reason with yourself, right? I know for a lot of people, the thought of just being alone might trigger anxiety, might trigger overthinking. And from somebody who experiences anxiety, um, I understand that. For me, I tend to overthink um when I'm not productive in the moment. I'd say I'm a pretty productive person, but in those moments where I feel like I'm not, uh, I don't know, I just start thinking and thinking. And that was one of the reasons why, for a while, my sleep was all over the place. Um, Recently, just got back into the habit of getting good sleep, and routine is back on track. So that's good, especially in time for school. Um, Anyways, but I think just the overthinking really killed me in the sense of, it kind of got in the way of the things that I should have been prioritizing. Example, at the time last semester, I ended the year off with pretty shitty grades because I didn't come in enough. And it was just, solely because of my sleep. Depression really kicked in at that time. I think the lack of sleep um, really heightened my emotions, and yeah, it really messed me up. But that's the past, and all I have to do is look forward, but also be level-headed and be in the present. um what I found with a lot of people is they don't really take in value the time that they need to be for themselves. There's plenty of times now that I figured that, like, I'd rather much just be alone. And that's not to say I don't appreciate my friends. I don't like my friends. I don't love, my girlfriend. I don't love my family, but I think that being alone has really helped me mentally. It's helped me find who I am. It's helped me find the expression that I would kind of portray when I'd go out into public, if that makes sense. Like, I know obviously you can't really know unless you're actually in public, but for me, I feel like um, thinking and kind of shaping myself in my time has really um, been the source of, like, kind of how I present myself to groups of people or people individually. For me, I'm a very critical thinker, and I think that comes with its flaws and it comes with its pros. It comes with its pros and its cons. That's what I meant. Um, you know, Pros being, you know, when I'm in a conversation with someone, I feel like I can really think about what I'm trying to say and what I want to say. Uh, I don't care if there's awkward silence in the conversation. I just make the most out of what I say, and I wouldn't like the fact that people would kind of take me for granted. So Um, I'm a very big, um, I'm very big in like processing what others say, and just kind of thinking about how to, I guess, reply or respond. And for me, that's always been something I've always done. I think ever since I was young, it's just I've always done that. And maybe that is kind of sourced from being more introverted, because when you're introverted, I feel like you're more observant, you're more aware of your environment. Um, just because you're listening so much, and introverts aren't typically people of many words, so you know, that's kind of like what I've been thinking, you know. Uh, but yeah, back to what I was saying though, like I feel like a lot of people rely on others to feel a certain way, to fill some type of void, to feel comfortable. Um, like I know a lot of people, especially my age, feel like they need to be with their friends to express themselves or act a certain way or talk a certain way, and I think that's kind of impure. And it's like, it's good to be influenced by people around you to a certain extent, but you want to be your own person. You want to be able to, um, just kind of be comfortable in your own skin, essentially. And for a long time, that was difficult for me. Not so much being lonely, but just the idea of um, accepting who I am and appreciating the time that I have for myself. I think that was a very difficult thing for me to accept. Um, and it just like there's so many things you can learn just being alone. There's so many things you can experience. I remember telling my friends, I went to like my local beach, just south of me, and they're like, why'd you go by yourself? And it's like, maybe I want to be able to get used to doing that. And, because there's going to be points in your life where you're going to be alone more than others. And to get used to it, I feel like it's good for the mind. And it practice your self independence and kind of getting used to fending for yourself. And because you never know where life could take you, really. People may have an idea, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a family when I'm older, this, that, but you don't know how long it's gonna take to get there. You don't know how long it's gonna take to, um, make, build that family, and you don't know. And it's like, I also think that, um, it allows you to think, okay, what I really need to accomplish, I have to do when nobody's watching. A lot of people want to work when it's like their friends are looking at them, and it's like, oh, I have to reach a certain expectation for them to be like, oh yeah, he's a hard worker, he's this, that. But I feel like it really counts when nobody's watching, behind closed doors, at 3 a.m. when, you're dead tired and it's like no one's watching, but it's like, are you willing to, do that for, you know, the results you want, to reach those goals? Are you willing to go to the gym and, hit leg day at 4 in the morning, whatever? It's all about how bad you want it. And that's the separator between people. That's the separator between winners and losers, matter of fact. Um, and I feel like being a loser is a very hard spot to reach. Not saying winning is not a hard spot, but I'm saying um, it to be classified as a loser, because I'm a strong believer in thinking that like there's no such as thing as being a loser or failure, as long as you're learning from your mistakes, learning from your shortcomings. But if you just kind of stick if you're just kind of stagnant and like you don't want to get better from your mistakes, you don't want to get better from your losses, then there's no real, growth in that. And they're just kind of accepting defeat essentially. So if you take everything with purpose, if you take everything with proper, you know, kind of approach, I guess, and everybody's idea of proper approach can be different, but for me, I'd say a proper approach would be is just reflecting on where you went kind of, I guess, wrong, where you made those mistakes, where you came up short, and know for next time what you have to do. Just keep making those mental notes. Um, and it looks different for everybody, but you know, whatever helps you, you should really prioritize that. Um, and I don't know, I've always believed in just keeping my circle small. I feel like um, since I really enjoy my alone time, obviously having a ton of friends wouldn't make sense. Um, Having a ton of friends to me seems kind of uh, unproportionate to my lifestyle. Um, you know, I just don't see the logic in giving time to a large group of people when I know realistically I wouldn't. Um, and for a lot of people that's different. And not saying like it's a bad thing to have a lot of friends, but for me, I've always been really stingy on trust, and especially since my eighth grade year of school. My trust really depleted, and it took a toll on me for a while because it made me isolate the next year in grade nine. But I don't regret that at all. Um, Grade nine was really a year where I developed uh, myself, including my work ethic, my confidence, um, my expression, um, and just being more extroverted for sure. I really, really love that year for that, for sure. Um, but yeah, no, I just really, I just really appreciate people who can understand that. Appreciate people who um can understand that being there for yourself when nobody's there, um it's really a blessing. It's really a blessing. And if you're religious like me, it really helps you think about God and the relationship you have with him one on one. And I think that's tremendous. uh and I feel like being with yourself is also a form of genuinity, since you are with yourself, you're one on one with yourself, and it's kind of like a test to see, like, are you really the person you are when you confront people? Are you really the person you are when you're in public settings? And it's like, it's really a big thing to think about, and I feel like not a lot of people do think about it. Um, but yeah, I'd say for people who are trying to work on finding themselves and to be comfortable when they're alone, just focus on what you enjoy the most, whether that be bike riding, whether that be art like drawing, painting, um, you know, playing your sport, whatever that may be. Just take the time to play by yourself, train. You know, um, Going to the gym, reading. Whatever it may be. Just take the time, and I promise you, you'll learn things about yourself. You'll learn things for your gain, your personal gain, whether that be your educational gain, uh, you know, you know, for yourself, like, you know, self-care, um, physical health, mental health, whatever, you know, it's really a beauty. And yeah, I really fuck with being alone, to be honest. It's helped me in a lot of ways. Anyways, um, I have a poem, or it's not a poem. It's kind of just like a little note, I guess you could say. But what I've learned recently was that despite being at the depths of hell mentally, there's always possibilities for positive and proficient change through the strength of resilience and the desire to move forward and succeed. I'm gonna say it one more time. What I've learned recently was that despite being at the depths of hell mentally, there's always possibility for positive and proficient change through the strength of resilience and the desire to move forward and succeed. So, you know, despite, you know, because you when it gets lonely, to be fair, when you're alone, you get in your head a lot. And for me, there's been times where I've gotten in my head to the point where I feel like I'm in the depths of hell. But you, when you're in the depths of hell, when you are at that mental state, it allows you to, you know, if you really want it, it pulls you out. It pulls you out of that hell. It pulls you out of that kind of state. And it makes you think, you know, I need to succeed. I need to push forward. I need to keep, you know, getting stronger, and to just go forth. Um, and just trust in God, trust in yourself, trust in, you know, your qualities, and always be aware of them, even though it may be hard. I appreciate you guys if you guys watch the whole thing through. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and see you in the next video. Peace.